if our first speaker is already online, we could go to our first speaker today. Now I see a very handsome gentleman right there wearing his headphones, Mr. John P. Liljelund, Secretary General of the IFF, and the topic for him is the international development in floorball. So over to you, John.
Thank you very much, Oskari, and good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everyone all over the world. First, I would like to convey a big thank you to Petri and his team at Eerikkilä for actually taking the initiative of organizing the World Floorball Summit. I believe that this is the thing we need in floorball in order to be able to develop the sport also on a global level, because one of the problems for us is, of course, as a young sport, is that the development stages of the different countries is quite big, and there are a lot to do. I can also say that Eerikkilä is a really dear place. I tried before this, I was supposed to be present, but unfortunately my flu is hindering me, so I'm doing this from home. I hope I will be able, my voice will carry out through the presentation. It's not that long, but I actually calculated that probably I've spent some 250 to 270 nights at Eerikkilä during my time, so it's a very dear and well-known place. But if we just look at IFF shortly, IFF has presently 75 members, and if we are concentrating on the fields of coaching, coach education, and then of course so education as general, we have been running coaching, referee, and organizational seminars from 2005 with the idea of trying to take the information which is within the sports movement in floorball and generally, and to provide that information further to the member associations. I think we've had something like 45 to plus 45 seminars so far. Lately, they have been more transformed into online seminars, partly due to the pandemic, but also partly due to the fact of that the technique has developed. We are also then we are now building a program for coaching where we have a so to say level 0 adoption model, which is for beginners model. We have a level 1, which is a teams coach level, maybe also a little bit higher in the smaller countries, and then a national team level coach education, which is more already focusing on bigger issues than just the things that happens on the field of play. In refereeing, we have a refereeing education set mainly for the international referees, but also materials for national, and all these materials you can find on the IFF website. The IFF approved a strategy for 21 to 32, and where there is the idea concerning education and development of the sports and coaching education is to build a series of new tools to help the members educate better coaches and referees. And also here in this, we have discussions ongoing with Eerikkilä, which is a partner of the Finnish Federation, but also we have a cooperation and have been in discussions with Eerikkilä trying to find different solutions for how to go forward. If we then think a little bit about the present situation in the floorball's international status and put it into a nutshell, the challenges for development on the international level for us in the sports could be defined within the following fields. The one problem is the organizational maturity of the IFF members and their financial states. You could easily think about the fact that there are so to say different situations where the problem is that the Floorball Federation, for example, in Southeast Asia or Africa or South America, the interest to play is the main driving force behind it. They love the sport, it's easy to start, and therefore they want to do. The problem is what kind of tools can we provide to them so that they easier can develop and build the situation and build their game. One question is, of course, the level and quantity of the national series. We clearly believe, and when we look on the 75 members and how they have developed, the ones who have had more level of series of games being played, more games in the series, more series, more teams have developed faster than the ones who have just played a few games. There is also this situation in a lot of the countries where very few games are played, which of course then makes it difficult to develop the skill level. And then coming back to one of the major issues, that we have in floorball, which is the gap on the field of play. So we are talking about closing the gap. The other problem is, of course, lack of skilled and educated referees and coaches. And then maybe something which is quite important is that there is maybe not this kind of international understanding or global understanding of what the game of floorball actually is. We have a lot of different countries who have their own perception, and that perception is, of course, right from their situation. But when we go into looking on educating other countries, there is always this problem of taking one model as the optimum one and bringing that into the field of play. So if we think about the field of development related to this summit, the question is, how can the gap on the field of play be closed? We would say that on the field of play, we have 4 brackets of countries. The first one is, of course, the top, which is, depending a little bit on you define it, but usually we define it as the top 4 countries, which is Czech Republic, Finland, Sweden, and Switzerland. Then you have the potential challenges, which could be 5 to 12 ranked in the world at the moment. Some of them on a good day in the World Championship could make it for the quarterfinals, could make it, maybe even sometimes make it for the semifinals, but still the difference is too big. Then we have the developing countries, which are the ones who already play international matches, who have a national team, and therefore also are trying to develop them. And one thing here is very important is that as a lot of the national team coaches are, in fact, expatriates or foreigners, it is important also then to understand what level and what kind of game is played in the respective national federations so that we can see it. And then we have the emerging countries, the ones who have not yet started their debut on the international scene, but are playing internally. We think that the game is still being developed quite heavily in all of these countries, but the speed of development is probably still faster in the higher brackets, which is logical because if you have already a base for your education, you have coaching education, you have a lot of coaches who have been training for a long period of time, who have taken educations, the development and the tactical understanding of the game. And of course, also one very important thing, which you will be speaking about in this summit later, is of course the technical appliances that you can use to help understand the game and also evaluate it and make your game better. So the next step for us to close the process of the gap is, of course, we are testing a concept called Future of Floorball, which has, among other ideas, to help in closing the gap. The idea is to reduce the players from 20 to 17, 3 times 15. This is, of course, not something which the whole community has accepted with open arms, and there is quite a lot of criticism towards the proposal. This will be tested, evaluated, and looked upon in the IFF General Assembly 2020. Apart from that, I don't know if that is the solution to everything, but apart from that, we are looking to create a number of new services in accordance with our strategy. So first of all, we are thinking of building an international floorball camp for youth players and their coaches with like 2 or 3 players and 1 coach per country, where in order to introduce the idea of how floorball could be played, what the differences are and how to do it. The idea is of course taken from ice hockey, who is running this in Vierumäki, but we have been speaking about this possibility also that we would do it with Eerikkilä before the pandemic. Also, then we are thinking of trying to build a level 1 to 3 international coaching education program in order to have our idea, our view of how the sport would be played. And here we believe that the cooperation with Eerikkilä will be key in order to get a really professional and not only a field of play education, but a broader education understanding of the other teams behind running a team and managing it. Then we are also in discussions to have the possibility of opening an IFF Regional Development Center in 2023 in Asia. That is, of course, related to the fact that we are playing the Women's World Floorball Championships 2023 in Singapore. And then looking upon creating an international coach platform, either on our own or in cooperation with somebody, for exchange of materials and information sharing, best practices and other things. And then a part of this, there is, of course, I think one very important parameter that we feel that the coaching community needs to develop, and we want to be part of that. And as I've been coaching floorball for 30 years, sometimes with good results, sometimes with not that good results, but and I also have a background in research at academical level and in corporate level. I think we would need to find a generic game analysis. We would need to build a generic game analysis which has different stages in it, so that all kind of coaches, all kind of countries could take advantage of it and see and understand how it works. So, what would the coaching community on an international level need to develop internationally? We need a more holistic understanding of the game and the way to convey it globally. The concept of knowing what you seek, what you do, and what you get is crucial here. Also, the understanding of that the fact that there is the same situation, that it's not possible to directly copy a certain play that one team is using and then taking it to another country if the understanding of the players is not there. They don't understand why they are doing it, how it's actually done, and how the team has chosen the reason for this. And I think that here all the coaches and especially together with the excellency of the Floorball Academy at Erkkilä, there is a lot of material already existing from where you could start building this kind of a more holistic understanding. And that would, of course, then at some point result in a generic game analysis, that we have the same understanding of the game and we understand the differences of what we are doing. And this should, of course, and should be done together within the community. And a good opportunity for this could be that we would build something up for the WFC in Zurich in Switzerland in 2022 for the men, and for the women in Singapore in 2023. Then I think it's very important also the fact that we would need to find and work around data collection, because one quite important thing is that there is a lot of data, and a lot of coaches do a lot of hands-on data collection and analysis based on that. But an important part is the fact, and as this is a field which at least I have been very interested in for a long period of time, is the fact that you would be able to have a generic tool which could be an automation, an application where you could gather data, which is not pre-coded, but you would have the possibility of gathering data from a situation that your team is facing. For example, where are the opponents passing through your pressing or your forechecking system, or how is your openings going? What happens to them? And if you would need to have something where you could combine a number of actual actions on the field of play, but so that you could change the chain yourself and build the analytics based on that, because we always need to remember that it's Excel solutions are great, but not flexible enough, as you can only use usually use one data set point and analyze that. So what we would need is a tool where you can combine different observations and build change for them. And then I think that a very important thing when we are talking about international development, and that we have seen in IFF in a number of countries where there has been taken one solution to one country. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. And as I said, there is no right solution for the development. All the different ways of development are okay, and they are good based if they are valid in their own surroundings. But it's key first to understand of what level the players are that we are coaching, and adopt the coaching level to that. It's important to get the knowledge of the local culture of what kind of understanding of sports they have, because if there is no understanding of what for example forechecking or giving pressure is, then it's impossible to teach the different versions or to explain why something is important. Another thing is the concept of how to deal with playing with the ball. And what we have learned in IFF, and what we believe it's very important, that as there is not just one right way of playing floorball, that not everyone has the same triggers as we might have or you might have, and which makes you tick. And also, it's very the word visible. It's very important to understand that what you see is what you get. What you are looking for is probably what you will be getting. And I would like to end this very short speech by please thanking you for Erkkilä for giving me the opportunity of giving these ideas and thoughts, and then hope that you would all enjoy the seminar and take home all the important learnings that the distinguished speakers will be having after me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. One question from me, if you don't mind. It's a very important time of the year. At the moment, we are preparing quite extraordinarily for both of the World Championships, for the ladies and for men as well. From your point of view, from your perspective of the IFF, how are things going in that sense?
Well, it is very special, and if we think about the fact that we are running two major events back to back, and even 3 days on the same time, it's a huge strength. But I would say that both organizers are performing. We will have a good event both in Uppsala and definitely in Helsinki. I would say that the big question mark is, of course, how the countries who are participating now, and there have been countries who can't participate, mainly Australia and Japan, who were qualified, how the different countries in Europe and also outside Europe has been able to practice and what level of play there is. We saw it in the U19s in August that the play was quite good, even they hadn't played for a long period of time. So I would say that my biggest concern at the moment is actually my personal flu, and what will happen with that. So because I'm supposed to leave in 4 or 5 days to Sweden, and at the moment I wasn't able even to come to Erikki.
Right. Well, we of course hope that you recover quite soon. It's very important to get you on site as well. One final thing: what are your biggest expectations? As you said, coaching. I've also seen you as a referee. You have in 30 years had many roles in floorball. What do you most expect from the upcoming games?
Well, I would actually like to see something new on the field of play in tactical means. I would like to see. I'm very much looking forward what the response will be from the teams 5 to 8, in which way they are trying to play against their top targets. We all know that Czech Republic has some problems with Slovakia and always or possibly with Latvia at some point. In the women's, Finland has been struggling with Slovakia also at some points, and then of course Norway now, which could have a really interesting team after all the turbulence which was around a certain player here and strikes and other things which was put forward. But otherwise, I'm more looking forward to being back on the field of play and getting the whole buzz around the World Championship up and running again.
All right. Thank you, John, and
Thank
wish you a fast recovery.
Thank you.